In marketing, we do this. What's the number one thing that you can do to optimize the funnel? Any guess?
Understand your customer.
Manage retention. And I'll explain why. If you stop one customer from leaving, you just doubled your revenue, right? So you got the 2 people who buy. If you stop that one guy who leaves, you just doubled your revenue. There's nothing else that you can do without spending a real lot of money to double your revenue. It's mission critical stuff. Companies who focus on customer retention are 50 to 95% more profitable than companies who don't. And if you want to work with any funders, they're going to drive you really hard down the retention route, because it's the most important thing is to build up these retained customers, because then you get referrals, and then you have something to build on, and then you also know what the right software is as you get more early evangelists and you're coming in the door. Increasing retention, lifetime value directly, decreases CAC, customer acquisition cost. Moving from 1% to 2% retention doubles your revenue and halves your customer acquisition cost, because you don't have to acquire more customers for that same revenue. So you want to look at your churn rate. It's a percentage of people who leave, which is composed of renewals, customer satisfaction, and cohort analysis. One of the things about, a lot of people focus on renewals. But think about it, companies that just went through the last 2 years, if they put all their energy in renewals, that's a bad place, because there were people who just couldn't afford your product anymore. They just couldn't afford it. So all your energy is trying to get renewals from people who can't afford it. That's a tough business. That's like being a streetwise guy. It's not the best place to focus your energy. You're much better off focusing on customer satisfaction and cohort analysis. I'll get to what cohort analysis is in a second. Customer satisfaction, net promoter score, which I'll talk about, customer surveys, and product issues and product usage map. Product issues are how many, your technical support. And I'm always like, I believe any startup, small company, when they tell me that they're going to hire a technical support person, that should only be because the founders are dying because they have to spend too much time on it. Because if you're not paying attention to your customers, your number one job is your technical support. I mean, there are so many times when, I remember one time I was getting technical support for KISS metrics. And I'm on the phone and the guy goes, yeah, my name is Heaton. I'm like, Heaton Shah? He goes, yeah, he's the CEO. Right? So I'm not the CEO because he really cares about customer support. He wants to know what problems I'm having so he can fix his product. So I totally recommend that you don't do that, but you track that so you know where your issues are. It's the leading thing for customer satisfaction. And your product usage map is really important because you start to find out what parts of your product aren't ever used by anybody. So you can kill them, because it's just as important to kill stuff as it is to make more. Otherwise you end up with like Microsoft Word. Who wants to build that, right? So let's talk a little bit about customer satisfaction. The best indicator of customer satisfaction is something called Net Promoter Score. There was a study done by Harvard Business School with Bain. I think they studied 4,000 companies, and they ranked those companies by profitability. And then they went and looked at what survey questions could they go out and ask those customers to show if there was any causality between profitability and customer satisfaction, which of course we just feel that there would be. But what they found is the only question that matters is how likely is it that a friend or colleague will recommend you on a scale from 0 to 10. They put you in 3 groups. Promoters and people give you a 9 or 10. People are neutral. That would be a 7 or 8. And detractors are 0 through 6. You take the percentage of promoters and subtract the percentage of detractors, and neutrals don't count for anything, and it gives you a score called the Net Promoter Score, which is between -100 and 100. What they found is really good brands are 50 or higher. incredible brands are 70. I'll give you an example of a 70, Harley Davidson. The people on Harley Davidsons want you to buy one. They want you to buy the chaps. They want you to buy the t-shirt. They want you to get tattooed. They want you to buy a wallet with a chain ring. I mean, this is like a cult following, and they're fanatical about it. That's an incredible brand. What more could you want? So I suggest that as you survey people, you use Net Promoter Scores. As a matter of fact, what we do is we use Net Promoter Score. We have a customer satisfaction survey. It's 10 questions. Net Promoter Score is question 1. You can opt out of the survey at that moment because that's all we really need to know. Mike, you want to say something?
I've been a big proponent of NPS for a while, and I read a really good blog about 2 weeks ago, and I don't remember who it was from, and he basically blew this out of the water for small startups. And he had some real good rationale, which I'm not going to be able to do justice for, but it kind of made me do a 180 on the usefulness of using an NPS at an early stage when you're still in validation.
No, I mean, it's a good point. What most of the detractors are saying for startups is that you don't have a statistically valid sample, so it leads you to make bad actions based upon the answers of 4 people.
Right, that was one of the things.
Yeah, I mean, one of my suggestions is that anything that you do, I mean, you're still the founder, so you need to think about whether or not that really makes sense for your business. But you have to measure customer satisfaction. If you just do it arbitrarily, you have no benchmark to measure against. You can't measure against other people in your field and stuff like that. Theoretically, if I were competing against you, I could also ask I could survey your customers to see if you're doing better than I am. That's a good way that I would suggest once you get bigger. Doing those kinds of things, competitive intelligence type things, let me know where they're pleased with us. I think 1-loss interviews are actually better at that. But I'm still going to back NPS.
Okay.
As a good way for you to get information. And what happens is if you measure it over time, especially the same people, you can see if you're moving up or down. But yeah, I mean, there's detractors to this too. But I've worked with this most of my career in the last, like, say, 6 years. It's worked out really well for me. Everybody, you know, actual mileage may vary.
Well, isn't one of the benefits of this is it's simplistic?
Yeah.
Right? It's an easy way to just get an interaction from a customer. Right? That's
correct. And like I say, I let them opt out right after that. Right. They don't need to answer the rest of it. At least I know where I stand. Yeah. And to me, when I don't have a lot of customers, somebody's a 0 through 6. I'm like, okay, I got to call. I got to get on a plane. I got to do something because I can't afford to lose anybody, right? So it's my warning system, right? You know, like there's a fire and I need to do this. The other thing is, all my people can know what this means without me having to explain deeply rationale behind survey mechanics and stuff like that. So everybody in the company can like, look.
Is there any value doing this for the people who didn't take up your service as well?
No, I don't think so, because you can do it with your website. I don't really think that that's that valuable, but you can't. My suggestion is that people who didn't take your service, do 1-loss interview. So a loss interview looks like this. Why you chose my competitor? Why? What did they have that I don't have? What you find out is, like, is what I say, perception's 90% of the law. Often they perceive that your competitor has something that they don't have that you really have, but that just shows you that you're not marketing well, right? So you find out like fantastic insights that way. It's harder to do if you're only doing web-based transactions to find out like that they actually bought something else. But when you do things that involve inside sales or a field sales force, you should always do 1-loss interviews. It's pretty powerful, and you find out some really good stuff. Cohorts. Okay, this is all. Whoa. Right, this is why I got mixed up because we moved it to the iPad. But I gave you the Wikipedia definition of cohorts. A cohort is used in medical science. When they do a study for a drug, it's what time people entered the study. It's usually a period, sometimes 2 weeks, sometimes a month. And what they do is they compare those groups to each other to see what the long-term effects of drugs are and to know what the dosing should be. Because when they originally do clinical trials, they don't know what's the right dose to create a problem. So they give some groups a certain dose and other groups another dose.